Hello, Tom Downer.
Don, how are you, sir?
Doing good.
Good. So Brett didn't like that extra invoice you got today, or what?
No. I tried to tell her you were just trying to bring in some more income, you know.
Like I said, every little bit counts.
That's right. Cheever tried to bill us for our dues again after we paid them. It said it was a slight oversight in the system.
It was actually a system glitch that we are working with our company as we speak.
At least you didn't blame it on the treasurer.
That's right. That's right.
All right, it is 6:30, and we will call the meeting to order, and we will start off with the pledge. The pledge is on the screen behind Trustee Hodson. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for
which
which it stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Okay, so we got a lot on the agenda tonight. I know we have a lot of guests with us for the state of the township kind of update. We got a couple things to work through in advance of that. The first part is basically preliminary information on the Murphy Park bond. So Don, I'll turn that over to you.
So tonight we have a hearing scheduled, and I'll be turning it over to our bond counsel, Brian Bosma, here in a little bit. But part of the thing we need to do real quick is just give everybody an update on Murphy Park, what we're doing. So I'm going to let our park director, Laura Helmick, talk about what this project will do. So go ahead, Laura.
All right, the Murphy property is located off of 625 across from the AJAA ball fields. Currently, we have projected for an aquatics facility, an all-inclusive playground, a recreation detention pond, a connection between our property and the AJAA property. And then we also have some native plantings that we'll be doing as well. Are there any other questions?
If not, we'll turn over to our bond counsel, Brian Bosma.
Thank you very much, Don. I'll see if I'm, Britt, if you'll let me in twice here, I'll pull up the, yeah, there we go, maybe. Well, hello to everyone. First of all, it's my pleasure to be with you again this evening. And let me see if I'm able to share screen. Yeah. Well, maybe. Sorry. Well, I may just have to walk you through orally here where we are. So as you're aware, you began this process in December and actually conducted two public hearings, January 5th and January 26th. Yeah, do you have can you pop the timeline on up, Britt? That's what I was trying to. Yeah, it's a separate document.
Talk, I'll work on that.
Yeah, and I can screen share, but it won't show my documents here. Yeah, it's not the right one. I'm sorry, Don. I thought I was later in the proceedings here. Oh, it could be getting warm. There we go. All right, there we go. So you actually began back in October by engaging an underwriter December 15th, the township collected petitions from 50 or more taxpayers. The auditor has certified 62 signatures. Don actually believes there are many more than that were disallowed, but we didn't want to fight the fight. So 62 is enough. They are attached to the resolution you'll be considering later today. You conducted, after public notice, you conducted hearings on January 5th and January 26th to take information from the public and make available to the public the required information for a project of this size. Then you posted and published notice of your preliminary determination to enter into a lease, starting a 30-day petition remonstrance request period, and also posted and published notice of your hearing this evening that will be conducted, I presume, a little bit later tonight. We circulated to all of you a draft lease bond resolution, the trust indenture that has been adopted by the building corporation, and other documents, the most important of which for you all are the terms of the lease. It's all virtually identical with different financial implications to the Station 144 documents that you approved back in September, I believe, or earlier. And the building corporation conducted its meeting here just a little bit ago and adopted the resolution, the lease, and the trust indenture. We've had on file there in the township the specifications and schedule for construction, which Don has briefly touched on, for Murphy Park. And after tonight's, because this is a controlled project, presuming after your hearing you determine to move forward, there will be 2 more notices that have to be published, and then 2 separate 30-day remonstrance periods will proceed. We're right now presuming there are no remonstrances filed. We are scheduled to close in the second week of April on the bond issue in the amount of roughly $16,272,000. That will be subject to the underwriter's pricing, probably be less than that. That's the maximum. The lease will go for a maximum term of 17 years. And we've talked at the last 2 hearings about some of the financial parameters, but I'm happy to answer any questions on the procedures at this point, and we'll stick around for the hearing.
I do want to point out to those on here that, as I've told folks before, the board hasn't made a final decision on this. What they're waiting for is to see how the bond comes out. Second of all is to see how the bids come out, and the schedule right now for taking bids with a tentative date of opening bids on April the 23rd. And then after that, they would then make a decision on awarding contract and proceeding forward. So late April, they'll be making the final decision on this project. So we told everybody that we wanted to make sure that because bids were coming in less, a lot of projects, and because bond rates are so good, that we didn't want to walk away from that and then wait a year and then kick ourselves later, wishing we had not done that, because could have had a good bid and a great bond rating. So that's the process they're going through. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that, so that you don't think we're deviating from what we originally told you earlier over the late last year. So I think the next step is to provide to do the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So we will move now to the public hearing on the approval of a lease with Washington Township, Henry County Building Corporation, and the appropriations and support thereof for the Murphy Park project. So Don, you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, just for the record, if nobody speaks, you have to at least have the hearing open for 1 minute. So if you want to state for the minutes so Brick can record it, when you open the public hearing, and then if nobody speaks, then after 1 minute's up, then state that you're closing the hearing at whatever time. So
we will open the public hearing portion at 6:39 p.m. based on my computer clock, if you will. minute's a very long time when it looks like everybody on the screen is looking at you, so it's kind of odd.
I keep saying we need music during this minute.
I know,
Yeah.
something. We could do jokes, little stand-up hour or something like that real quick.
A commercial.
Okay, according to my stopwatch, that was a minute. We are closing the public.
Sorry, Amanda, I was trying to help you out there.
I like it.
We will close the public hearing portion at 6:40 p.m. So, all right. And Don and I had spoken. Don, I don't know if you want to touch base on the department reports. We
Yep.
did receive a lot of reports, year-end reports from all the departments. Certainly, I mean, all of them are extremely thorough, very informative. To have, and we're obviously going to do the state of the township stuff. I guess my part of it would be to say, I think every department has gone above and beyond in a, let's call it a little bit of an odd year, which is turning into now heading towards 2 years, moving into the second year. So everybody's just done a fantastic job from a township standpoint, while continuing to move things forward. I mean, we're moving a fire station forward, we're moving the Murphy Park forward and progressing with things and still doing the daily operations, which is super impressive. So Don, I'll turn it over to you.
So the board did receive in the packet the January reports for the township assistance, human resource, park and fire, and also the trustee comments. And unless any of the board members have questions or concerns, with permission of the chairman, I'd like to just record that we did give them to you and go ahead and move on to old business. So,
Steve or Amanda, do you have any questions?
No, none.
No questions. I just reiterate what Shane said. It was kind of amazing going through all of the reports and everything that every single department has done. No one has been stagnant. And they have continued to look towards the future and move on. And you guys all need to be very, very proud of yourselves.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, it's easy to blame COVID for a lot of stuff. It's kind of the way of the world right now is blaming it for stuff. So great work. Don, did you want to do any comments or move on to?
go ahead and move on to the old business. And the first thing would be the Murphy Park project. And after that, Station 144. I do have David Rainey, our owner rep with Veritas, with us. And he will be on this portion to kind of give you a quick update. Laura did provide a report here real quick. Laura, did you want to say anything before I turn over to David?
If anybody has any questions about the that I gave, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, David, if you want to go into the either Murphy Park or Station 144, whichever you want to do, and then after that, follow up with the other one. So,
Hey, Don, David had something, an emergency. He had to step off.
oh, okay. So, Britt, if you want to bring those two up real quick, it was the timelines that what he had on there. And I provided that. So first on the Murphy Park, this is the timeline real quick. And we will be going through Murphy Park will be going through 3 different plan commission meetings with the town of Avon. This is the schedule that we have been following, and this is what we're leading into. And I said going all the way down to hopefully opening bids April the 23rd if the board is available for that date. And then depending on how the bids come out and then assuming we also get the plan commission approval on April the 26th, and assuming we have a bond that's been approved, then the board will make a decision about moving forward the project and awarding a contract. So, and if that all happens, then construction would start in May with an anticipated substantial completion of Memorial Day of 2022. So that's the Murphy Park timeline. I didn't know if any of you have any questions.
Nope.
If not, if we'll move to the other one, which is Station 144, please. Obviously with 144, the bond's already been approved. We will be going through two, I think it's, planning commission meetings. We'll have one coming up, first of all, to do a rezone application. That'll happen on February, of the February Planning Commission meeting. And then we'll be, we're also at the same time doing a voluntary annexation with the town of Avon, because that property does lay in the unincorporated area that we bought. And then working through that process, and then going into, if you want to move on down, Britt, into April. Again, anticipation bid openings would be April the 20th, and awarding, and that have an awarding of the contract on April 30th, with anticipating, again, that one too, construction starting in May, with an anticipation substantial completion of fourth quarter of this year, at the latest first quarter of next year. So depending on how the project proceeds with weather and everything. That's the two updates on the two projects. And unless you guys have any other questions, or anybody from the public even, real quick while we got it up here. If not, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to Chief Smith to talk about the training ground update under old business.
Okay, thanks, Don. Chief Smith, you are up. Oh, I think you're muted.
I'll just add one thing to what Don brought up about Station 144. We did go to bid last week on the first package of the construction, which is the demolition portion of the project and the steel portion. We wanted to try to get those two parts moving a little ahead of some of the other stuff because they could be a holdup on the project. So we did go to bid on that. On the training ground, there's not a whole lot of change there. We're still finalizing the final plans with the company that will be constructing the tower. I did have a meeting with the gentleman that's going to be moving our trailer from Station 144 or 41 over to the training ground. And we're scheduled to get that done here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I think all the site work is now complete at the training ground.
Very good. Any questions for Chief Smith on training ground? Okay, so we will move on to new business. Don, I'll turn it over to you and the team for the State of the Township.
So the State of the Township has been a tradition that we started back in 2012. The department heads and myself do this each year. And what we do is we outline the previous year's goals that we set when we brought it out last year's, and then talk about the status real quick. And then we talk about our goals for this year. The only other goal that I'm going to bring up will be 2022, and that's to do this thing next year in live, in person, as opposed to doing virtual. So bear with us tonight on this. Britt will be running the slides, and she's already told all of us that she's just going to keep this thing moving along. So we need to, keep our discussion, to limited. So it'll start out first with the township administration, then we'll move over to the township assistants. After that to the HR, and then after that park, and then fire. So we'll start out with township administration. And so in 2020, the goals that were set up by the administration, first one was to finish and implement a process for sale of burial plots in the township. As you know, the township has 5 different abandoned cemeteries we take care of. One of them, which is the one over by the town hall, we did have it mapped out and platted as far as available plots for future burial. One being for pauper burials, and the other would be, we get people all the time that come in and say, hey, Uncle Joe's buried over there. Is there any way that we could do that? Well, the previous township board did set that up. Unfortunately, with COVID, we did not get the process established and approved by the board. So that'll be something we'll be working on this year. Number 2, to continue to seek ways to improve the township work culture. That's an ongoing thing, and it's a goal each year that we do. Number 3 was to do a review of the retirement programs for our non-merit employees and merit employees who are not included in the 77 fund. We started that, but didn't get it all the way done, and it will be a goal for this year, and it will definitely be done. Complete and implement township succession plan. When we did our 4-year strategic plan 2 years ago, that was something that was in there. Again, due to COVID, we didn't get to that particular goal. So that's, you'll hear me talk about it for this year. So move on to the next one. Work with the Avon Collaboration Group to begin the groundwork for a countywide collaboration group. The group did talk about this, and after a discussion earlier in the year, we found out that the school superintendents all meet on a regular basis in the county, the same with the town managers, the same with the fire chiefs, the same with the parks directors, same with the townships, library, chamber, et cetera. So it was decided that we just, leave our group alone and let each of those different entities work within themselves that way. So unless there was a need later on. Complete 2019 rainy day projects that had not been finished in 2019. We did complete 3 of those 4 this last year. Station 141 remodel was completed. The park digital sign, which is out there on 36 before you get to the Paw Park from the west side. The fire wellness equipment was completed. And the other thing was the training ground, and that's ongoing, as you know. Begin the 2020 rainy day project, which was Station 142 remodel, and that did get started. Next was complete the Murphy Park master plan and secure public input. We did get that started. I'll go to number 9. Work with the Indiana legislature to find a solution to increase our maximum fire levy so we could reduce our response time. You've heard us talk about fire response times, and we found that we needed to help that response time, we needed to move a station closer to where all the major developments were. And however, we found that our fire levy was already maxed out. And so to get that solution, we had to go to the legislature and get some help. So we did do that and work with Representative Thompson and Representative Stoll and Senator Crane to get that taken care of with the state legislature. If that was passed, our goal was to complete a financial impact analysis of the impact and increase on the fire levy so we could decide whether or not to implement it, and if so, how much. That was completed. Number 11, complete analysis on the impacts of bonding for developing a future fire station and/or township park. Those were all both completed and brought forth to the taxing entities. Number 12, seek and apply for grants to assist in funding of a future fire station. That's ongoing. We're still doing that. Seek and apply for grants to assist in the funding of a future park. Laura and the grant writer are working on that. Work with the Indiana legislature to find solutions to the tax cap impact so we can increase services in response to our population boom. As you all know, Avon area, Washington Township has a real tax cap problem, and we've been working with legislature, and hopefully sometime in the future, we'll possibly maybe have a solution to that. So next one. Some additional accomplishments we did have. We did secure a AA- rating for Standards & Poor's, and Jeff Peters, our financial advisor, tells us for a township, that's really good. We did secure, as a result, a fire safety bond that was at lower than anticipated interest rates, and so we were able to actually get that at a premium. We did get approved for the maximum fire levy that House Bill 1065 allowed. That bill was set up, it was based on population over a 10-year period. And for every 1% of population over and above 6%, we got 1 cent for each one. We qualified for the full 15 cents. And with that, we could have gone the full 15 cents. We were talking about going with 8 cents. However, through the hard work of Chief Smith and with some assistance from Deputy Trustee Woodard, they did develop a 2021 operating budget that used only 3% of that 15 cent levy increase. So that allows for a lot of growth down the road. What it did do is result in a 64% decrease to the taxpayers that we were anticipating, and also a 64% decrease in impact to the taxing entities. And we did pass that information on to those taxing entities. Delivered safe and superior services and programs to the community during COVID. And I think all of us in the township, as far as the taxing entities, I think the public can agree that we have come through on that. And that's a result of the hard work of our management that's in place, and also our boards giving us the funds and the tools to do it. And then, of course, the staff getting it done. And they've done an excellent job. The last thing was additional accomplishments was hiring a new owner's rep for township projects. result in better managed projects as well as on time and budget savings. So David Rainey and the Veritas Group has done an excellent job in keeping these projects going, and also under budget and working under budget. So I want to praise them for the job well done. So what's our goals for this year for Township administration? Finally, we are going to get that process and the pricing done for the sale of burial plots. So I know I have Suzanne and Doug both on here, and Steve was part of it, the last part of it, when he was on the board the last term. So we'll get that done and get that approved by the board. Continue to seek ways to improve the township work culture. You'll hear me talk about that later on, and then also our HR director will be talking about. We will finish up the review of the retirement programs for the non-merit employees and merit employees who are not included in the 77 fund and PERM. We will complete and implement the actual township succession plan. We will be having down the road here, retirements coming up. We'll have people that will be, many years of service to the organization will be moving on. And so we need to have succession plans in place to fill in those spots as they happen. So we'll complete the 2020 rainy day projects that were ongoing at the end of 2020, which is the fire training ground and Station 142 upgrade. We will complete the Murphy Park master plan, secure the final input, and adopt the final plan. The board will be doing that. Complete the plans for Station 142 and begin the construction. So you've heard about the progress on that, and barring any unforeseen things, that will be taken care of. We'll be working on and securing the Murphy Park bond. And assuming we do get that bond, and assuming the board decides to move on with the project, then we'll begin the construction for the Murphy Park. We'll seek and apply for grants to assist in the funding of the Murphy Park, because there are certain parts of that that'll be taken care of by grants, and Laura's working with the grant writer on that. And I'm going to continue to work with the Indiana legislature to find solutions to that tax cap impact, because it's been affecting our area for many, many, many years. So, be working with HR and department heads on the new mutual action planning. This, has replaced our evaluation program. And this is something that the HR director has been working very hard on, along with the department heads, and we'll be rolling that out and starting that process. Be working with the department heads and township board to create and implement a two-way community service policy. Working with HR and department heads on studying performance pay or bonus programs, or some other ways, different things that we can also supplement pay for outstanding work. Work with HR on implementing trainings on leadership, better recruiting and retention, and compliance. So those are the goals of the township administration. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Trustee Woodard to talk about township assistance.
Hi there. It's been an interesting year in township assistance. We've had our applications spike, and we've given out a lot of money to help the citizens of Washington Township. It's been an honor and a challenge. So in 2020, we did attend the Township Association annual conference. That was virtual, and got a good lesson from Jeff Bellamy there. So thank you, Jeff. We did collaborate with all kinds of folks in the township to try to give out services. One of the great things that we did was we had an opportunity to attend the back to school supply drive with the Avon Community Schools. And I met with over 50 families while I was there, and I talked to them especially about our clothing voucher program. At that point, most of the families already had clothes for their kids, but they all went home with the flyer in their hand. And so, we did get calls and follow-up calls at later dates. It was nice to be able to get the word out. Number 3 and 4, we did have to kind of table those for the year just because we weren't sure how to do that safely, but those are on the list for this year, ways that we can have our people volunteer out in the community and have people in the community come volunteer for us. The next one, developing the relationship with other township assistance directors in Hendricks County. This has been a year when I've been on the phone with, I think Guilford and Center Township are the ones I know the best, trying to figure out what they're doing to cope. They're trying to figure out what we're doing to cope, and we're all kind of working together. And when we needed a new township assistance director, we even were sharing recruiting strategies. So it was really nice to work with them. The other public assistance programs this year, I found out that the Hendricks College Network is offering a program called Maintain the Course that will provide laptops to people who are trying to take virtual online college classes, and also help with their internet connectivity. We've been able to help several families who have adult children at home who are taking classes, and also just people who've returned to school get internet access, get laptops, and be able to keep going to school. So when the pandemic is over, they'll have a greater skill set so they can go back to work. We increasing our grants. We did have to put that on hold last year. We wanted to keep that money a little bit more in-house in an effort to provide more direct relief to the citizens of Washington Township. But we did still partner with the Hendricks County Senior Services and with the Mary Lee Mayer Food Pantry and the Avon Back to School Supply Drive to make sure that we could provide indirect relief by giving them money and funding for their programs. The manual for a successor, that's an ongoing process. So will always be an ongoing process. We try to make sure that if there's something happens and our township assistance director can't be with us anymore, that someone else can step in right away. And so we're just constantly updating that manual. We obviously didn't use headquarters as a drop off for our food pantry because we were locked for 50% of the year. But we are, once we get back to normal, that's definitely something we are going to explore again. As far as streamlining the application process goes, every cloud has a silver lining. And for us, it was the only silver lining from COVID was being able to streamline our process. Trilby Barry Taman, she's our parks programmer. Her wife actually set us up with an absolutely perfect online portal where our applicants are able to securely submit their financial and their identification documents so that we can review their case. And we know that their information is safe, and we're getting that program for free right now. So thanks Trilby and thanks Lisa for that. We are now able to handle as many interviews in a day as we used to be able to handle in a week. And that's because we've done such a great job streamlining the process. And we've had so many people from the Parks Department, the Fire Department, Township Administration. Don jumped in just to try to help out back in April when things were really spiking. And then the very last one there, we are working on the database. I would say it wasn't really a priority to us last year, what with COVID happening, but we are planning to switch to a new database this year that should really capture the data at a greater level of detail. This section is supposed to be presented by our new Township Assistance Director, Bobby Vickers, but unfortunately she's been out of the office for a couple of weeks, so I'm stepping in for her. She really wants to make sure that she keeps learning the director position. She just started with us in November, so she's still learning and wants to get really comfortable with the role so she can, provide the best service she can. She also will be attending the Township Association training, and then she's also going to attend a couple of trainings on, listening and documentation and those types of things, just to help with some of the soft skills that come along with township assistance. She's excited to keep working with other service providers in the township, getting to know the landlords that we work with on a regular basis, getting to know the food pantries, their hours, Family Promise, Hendricks County Senior Services, Hendricks College Network, all of the different organizations that we partner with to make sure people in our township are well served. She's going to help us explore those volunteer opportunities and make sure that we have an opportunity to give back to our community in a safe and CDC compliant manner. Bobby actually comes to us. She was at the Ruth Lilly Women's Shelter in Marion County for several years. She worked there as a social worker and a coordinator. So she knows Marion County resources really, really well. And some of those are applicable to our people, but her knowledge of Hendricks County resources is a little bit, in the works. So she's going to work on that. But I love some of the Marion County and statewide resources she's already brought to us. Increasing the community awareness of services. So this is like attending that back to school supply drive, getting out there in the community and letting people know what we offer. We did some Facebook outreach last year. We intend to attend the farmers market again this year to try to make sure people know we're here to help. Again, continuing to build relationship with the other township assistance directors here in Hendricks County. It was really great last year. I know it will continue to be wonderful. And then last but not least, switching over that database so that we can have really, really good data to work with our clients and let the state know that we're doing the right thing for our people. That's it.
Thank you, Britt. So our next presentation will be concerning human resources. That'll be done by our Human Resource Director, Tracy Justice.
Good evening. So keep in mind that these goals that have been, that you see in front of you were put in place not by me, but I did come in and so number one, hire, onboard, and train a new HR director. I am here, so that's completed. Develop a new PTO buyback policy. The policy has been in place, but this year, 2020 was the first year that we rolled it out. And, so that's in place. Roll out the mutual action plans. That is in progress. We're getting all the communication out there. Conduct annual salary comparison survey. We did do that for 2020, and this is something that is pretty much ongoing just to make sure that we stay competitive, to keep the, to keep and obtain the best employees out there. Next slide, please. All right, develop retention metrics and retention goal plan that's ongoing. Reviewing the benefit offerings and making recommendations where necessary. This is something that will always, that will be ongoing. We just, just to stay competitive in what we offer to our employees. Review and update the vehicle accident policy that is ongoing. And reviewing policies within the township that will always be an ongoing activity that HR will do throughout, each year. Next slide, please. Okay. These are also ongoing, items, that I will be, working on throughout the year, ensuring that we stay compliant with our Department of Labor for Indiana and for federal level. Working with the department heads on hiring process and interviewing to create the standards, training department heads and supervisors on performance improvement plans, and conducting, the necessary trainings that, that we need to have annually, staying on top of HIPAA, customer service, sexual harassment, bullying, among other trainings that we will have. So these are all ongoing. So additional accomplishments, I did receive my HR credentials for 2020 last month, in December. And so that's an accomplishment. Something else that I've worked on in this department is, streamlining our paper forms. It's just easier to keep all the forms together and know where the forms are coming from when they're electronic, especially when it comes to applications. When we're hiring for the fire department, it is one of the hugest application process that we have, and being able to do it, to streamline it online has made it easier to go back and look at applications. So there's quite a few forms that, I've digitized. Open enrollment, we've improved the user experience last year, and, and it's not going to stop there. This year, we'll be working on that as well. And, making it through my first year as HR director with COVID, there was just a lot of policies and a lot of things that were, that, we just had to really deal with. And I'm thankful that, made it through the first year through COVID. So our, my goals for 2021, change management, I'll be working with the trustee and pretty much, all the department heads on, coming up with ways of how we're going to improve our culture, as Don had mentioned that, we want to be the best, and so we're going to work through changing a few things. Performance management is rolling out the mutual action plan that is in process, but this will be our first year actually getting it rolled out. So, that's something exciting that we're looking forward to getting out there and learning a little bit more about. And workforce planning, and that's when we're going to use that map to gather information to understand our workforce a little bit better, and then use that to assess where training needs to happen. And we really want to focus on working with our leadership team, whether anyone who's managing personnel, we want to work with them and make sure that, we have the best people managers, around. Develop a retention plan and associated metrics. So with the map is going to help us, figure out, how to come up with a plan for keeping our best employees. We're going to work with the trustee on the succession planning. As he mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that we have people in place to move up as people are leaving so that, we're ready. And form website renovation committee. So, I'm pretty sure if you've looked at our website, it's about, it's probably not the best, but we're going to work on that. That's something that we're going to focus on this year, getting a committee together and making sure that our website is, that we're providing the information that everyone needs just at a click of a button. Okay, still have some more. Okay. Complete voluntary benefits review. We do have voluntary benefits and, that's just part of something that, I want to make sure that, we're working on this year and just reviewing all of that and making sure that, we're able to give our employees the best that we can possibly give. And explore and create sick leave donation policy. That's something that we're exploring. A sick leave donation policy where employees can donate PTO hours to those that are in need. If maybe something catastrophic happens, we want to be in a position where we're able to, help each other. And so that's a policy that we're going to explore this year. And I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Our next presentation will be our Parks Director, Laura Helmick, will talk about Park and Recreation.
All right. Well, I can say and agree with everybody that it's been a very interesting year for us at the Parks Department. When COVID hit, we never really stopped doing things. We just kind of figured it out. And it's been a lot of fun thinking of new and creative ways to engage the community. And so we're just excited for the new year, whatever it brings us. So you can see here our goals for 2020. Work with the Parks Department staff to create the 2021-2025 Washington Township Parks Department Master Plan. That one is still ongoing, and that is because we were kind of waiting to see the direction from Murphy. Work with the trustee and owner's rep to create the budget and master plan for Murphy Park. This one is still ongoing. Work with our grant writer to apply for grants to offset the cost of Murphy Park. This has kind of moved more towards the all-inclusive playground, but it's still ongoing and we're still working with her. Okay, work with the assistant director to name and rebrand each park with consistent signage. This one we worked a lot on and we were ready to go, but it kind of got pushed back because of COVID. So it is ongoing and we plan to roll that out with the opening of Murphy Park. Complete all of the capital projects regarding the Pavilion Center renovations and create a rebranding and marketing plan to enhance rentals. So we were able to complete the first half of that in January and February, and then we basically had to shut down the Pavilion Center. So it was hard to really rebrand and market that when we weren't sure how many people were going to be able to be in the building. And so that's something that will be ongoing. Work with the maintenance and Boy Scouts to build a footbridge to the prairie grass on the east side of Pecar Park. That one was postponed due to COVID, but we actually got a donation from Hendrix Power, and they're going to be helping us with that bridge in April. Create prairie trails and nature education displays on the east side of Pecar Park. That one is completed. Work with maintenance staff to create bike trails in the underdeveloped area in the lower half of the main park. That one's complete. Update the water features at the splash pad located at the main park. This one was completed. And then restore the current gazebo in the main park and move to Pecar Park next to the Raccoon Lagoon. And this one was canceled due to COVID. Next is our 2021 goals. Our hope is that we'll know here soon what direction we want to move forward in with Murphy Park. And so once we figure that out, we'll be working on our 2022-2026 Washington Township Park Master Plan. Work with the trustee and design team on the design and construction of Murphy Park. Work with our grant writer to apply for grants to offset the cost of Murphy Park. Work with the Hendricks County Disc Golf Association to create an 18-hole course in the lower half of Washington Township Park. Work with Wild Play International and the maintenance superintendent to create a business plan to potentially bring a high impact challenge course to Washington Township Park. Work with maintenance and Hendricks Power to build the footbridge to the prairie grass on the east side of Pecar Park. Putting up shade sails next to the playground at Pecar Park. Adding additional education elements to our trails at Pecar Park. And then renovating the rain garden in front of Pecar Park Nature Center. Begin cutting back the trees across the street from the maintenance barn to create additional parking next to the trails. And when I say cut back trees, these are really vines, not trees that you really want in your park. And then the next one is create in-house trainings with park staff that will be taught internally.
Yep. Our next presentation and final presentation will be by the fire department, Chief Dan Smith.
2020 goals and objectives. Number one was to continue development of the training ground. We've obviously done that. We purchased the property a couple of years ago and we've begun the site development, and that project's moving along. So it's ongoing. Begin responses with engine 141. We're in the process of completing that process. We'll actually start running that engine out of station 141 March 1st of this year. Complete development of garage area for the mechanic. As you know, we hired a new mechanic at the beginning of last year. We had some things we needed to continue to get for them to be more effective, and we've completed that. Begin a needs assessment for station 144, and obviously that's been completed. Identify upgrades for station 142 that was mentioned in the rainy day fund projects. We've got some things completed on that, but it's still an ongoing process. Number 6, complete the remodel of station 141. That was completed toward the end of last year. Continue the succession planning process. That's ongoing. Work on standardizing officer training with county fire departments. That was not completed, and a lot of that had to do with our COVID restrictions, so to speak. So 2021 goals for this year: continue development of the training ground, complete construction of the tower, complete construction of the burn cells. We've identified money for both of those projects, and we'll hopefully have those done mid-year. Complete remodel of the large classroom area in the buildings that we purchased. We started on that and hope to have that done again probably mid-year of this year. Move the double wide from station 141. I talked about that earlier. That should be done here in the next month. Install new roof on the storage building. We encumbered money from last year's budget to get that done, and we're waiting for that to be completed. And then upgrades to the house. Again, we're going to put some new windows in and do a couple other things to make that house more usable. And we had money left over from last year that we're able to get that project done. Continue upgrades to station 142 from the rainy day. We've identified and already actually done the layout to increase the parking lot size there, as it's not big enough for the amount of people that we run out of that station right now. Complete upgrades to the bay areas. We've got some drywall issues and some heater issues inside the bays, and we plan to get that work done by mid-year this year. Complete a long-range plan for the bunk shower facilities. We're spending some money last year and this year with Delve, our architectural firm, for station 141 to try to look at kind of a long-range update to that station, where we'll probably incorporate some of the upgrades that we did to station 141 that we just completed. Continue succession planning. I've made no beans about the fact that I'm going to be gone here in the not too distant future, and potentially some other people around here. So we're trying to identify personnel that may potentially move into those spots. When we're doing that, we're trying to identify the gaps in training that are needed for those personnel to fill those positions. And as part of that, getting what they need is to continue to provide funding for the training and certifications that they need to fulfill the kind of the best practices standards across the fire service. Complete construction of the new fire station. As the trustee mentioned earlier, our hope is to get that completed by end of this year or January of next year at the very latest. And evaluate the effectiveness of our first recruit class. This was the first year that we have ever done our own recruit class. In years past, we've always sent our firefighters to other departments to get that done. We decided because of the numbers of recruits that we had and the fact that we had the training facilities to do that ourselves, that we would start doing that ourselves. We this year decided just to invite our own people. We didn't really want to reach out past our department because we've made a few mistakes. We'll be the first to admit it wasn't perfect and we're not done, but we're going to identify the changes that need to happen to the recruit class. Once that's done, and we're going to solicit input from the students and instructors and try to figure out ways that we can make this year's recruit class that will start in the fall of this year even better than the recruit class that will be graduating at the end of this month. And I believe that's the end of mine.
Yeah, that does complete our state of the township. I want to thank the department heads for putting their part together. The next part, while you folks are still on here, is we'll do the annual report real quick. Each year by state statute, township trustees, even when they leave office, they have to come back and do it for the previous year they were in office, is presenting the previous year's financial annual report to the board for final approval. The only thing we're going to present here, and then I'll walk through the board, the process that we have to go through, and so that we can record on the minutes that we did this, and then they'll come in and sign the actual documents the next couple of days. But I always cover each year the snapshot of page 2 of the annual report. By the way, after the board approves this annual report tonight, Britt and I will be posting this on Gateway. It will be available to the public, and we will also be publishing it in the Republican as required by state statute. We have to also advertise it in a newspaper. So we'll be putting that in there. This is the page 2, which gives the beginning and ending cash and also the receipts and disbursements for 2020 of the various funds that we have. We have 4 operating funds. We have 2 debt funds, and then we have some other funds such as donation funds and hazardous material, rainy day, payroll deduction, sales, etc. The thing I want to point out to you is if you look at the grand total down at the bottom on the beginning cash, January 1 of 2020, we started out with $11,762,912.48. And we ended the year, if you want to move that over just a little bit, we ended the year with $13,350,000. Now I've lost it. Move it to the left or something, please. People are covering it up. But it's $13,350,192.05, excuse me. That's the ending cash. Now, starting a few years ago, I started doing, because looking at it myself, and people would look at it in general and think, what are those guys doing with all that money over there, okay? So back in 2017, up until 2017, this township was always borrowing money to cover the first half of the year's expenses until they got their June disbursement, which, we were and taxing entities were allowed to do that. But our township was the last in this area doing that. And so we started saving up reserves, and then starting in 2017, we were no longer had to do that. What that meant was it was saving the taxpayers an average of $12,000 to $25,000 a year, depending on how much we borrowed, because of interest and professional fees. So of that 13 million, 5 million of that is set aside for that purpose to cover our expenses for the first half of the year until we get our actual property tax distribution in June. We get our lit money on a monthly basis, but the big chunk of the property tax we don't get till towards the end of June. $1.6 million of that's also assigned to cover capital expenditures of the projects of the township until we receive the actual distribution in June. So that's the rainy day projects that we were talking about, the park capital projects and the fire keeping projects. 1.82 million is dedicated for the Township Health Fund. Our township in 2017 became self-insured, which lowered our overall health costs. But what we had to do is we had to make sure that we had reserves in there to cover any claims that were made. So that's what that's earmarked for. We had unspent budgeted funds from 2020 that we encumbered because we did have outstanding contracts and invoices. So $1,418,959 is for that. The township has 2 outstanding bonds, and the principal and the interest for the first 6 months comes a total of $320,000. So of that $11 million or $13 million, that 320 is earmarked for that. And the final thing is we've been saving up money to early payoff of 1 or 2 of our township bonds. And so $3.1 million is for that purpose. So we keep doing that. And I think the goal is after 2022, we will be at least paying off the 2007 park bond that we have in existence. So that's what that's covering. So Britt, if you'll bring up the form that the board has to do. So if we were there in person, what I would be doing is giving this report. They already have it, but I'd be giving this board to the board chairman. He would be signing that he acknowledged that he received it. And then we would be covering the resolution or the form on there. Do you have it? Okay, she's pulling it up. So that form, what it'll do is they'll be on there that they'll each record how they're voting. They're either accepting, the choice they have is they can either accept the annual report as presented, or they can accept it with changes that they don't agree with, and they'll have to note that on there. Or they can also say that I'm just voting against it. I mean, I'm not, acknowledge we got it, but we don't agree with it. So that's what each of you need to do right now for the record. And then when you come in tomorrow and Thursday to sign those documents and stuff, you'll record accordingly. So first of all, Shane, I need you to record for the record, since we're doing this virtually, that you do acknowledge that I presented the report to the board and that you guys did receive it. So that you'll sign that to that effect tomorrow when you come in to sign.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Hodson, for the annual financial report that was completed. I assume we do this by roll call. Is that how we would do this?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll be saying option 1 or option 2 when he does the roll call, folks.
Okay. So we will start with Steve first.
I will take option 1, where we've received, accepted, and approved the report.
All right. And Amanda?
I will vote the same. Option 1, received with no changes.
And this is Shane. I am voting also option 1. So that's 3 for voting in the favor of option 1.
Okay. So when they come in to sign that, that's how they'll sign that. They'll be on the record. This page here will show up in the Republican. I don't think this form shows up on Gateway, but I may be wrong. So I also want to acknowledge that this report was put together by very hard work of Deputy Trustee Woodard. It takes quite a few weeks and help from other people that they had supply information to her. But it's a complete snapshot of every check to every John Henry that we wrote to, every receipt that we took in, all our assets. I mean, the whole ball of wax. So the only thing it doesn't show under the township assistance, it doesn't show who we gave help to, but it does show landlords and those folks. So if your name shows up in this report, it's because you're either a landlord or you got a refund back on a deposit you made at the pavilion or something like that. So that's why. So again, I want to thank her very much for all the hard work. I want to take the opportunity on behalf of the staff and the board to thank all the taxing entities for being on here tonight and attending this. I also want to thank any public that's on here. We do have about 3 more things on the agenda. You're welcome to continue with us. I'll tell you what they are. One will be voting on the resolution that the bond council alluded to, on approving the form of lease, and that'll be resolution 020921-01. We did list a resolution on here approving the 2021 Townships Assistant Guidelines. We're required to do that once a year. That will be postponed until March due to Bobby being out, and she has those guidelines. And so we'll have those guidelines to present to the board next month and then have it over to the commissioner's office as required and also on display here. The third resolution is the approval of declaration of surplus, and the last resolution is an amendment to our salary resolution for this year. So that's what we're going to be covering for the rest of the meeting, which won't be very much. You're welcome to stay on. Otherwise, I want to thank all of you very, very much for attending and being with us this evening. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Don said too. Thank you for the support of everybody. Certainly, I think we're lucky to be in the Avon, Washington Township area and have the support that we have and work together the way we do. So that's certainly a good thing. So we will move on to these four resolutions. The first resolution is 020921-01, which is the lease, basically approving a form of a lease, issuing a lease, rental bonds, continuing disclosure agreement, and approving appropriation and property transfer.
So Brian, you want to cover anything on this before they
Sure.
take action?
I will mention a few things that weren't mentioned earlier and then happy to answer any questions. So you have before you resolution 020921-01. It receives and approves the auditor's certification and attached taxpayer petitions, which we discussed earlier with 62 signatures on them. That's actually attached to the resolution for your reference. It approves the form of lease, which is attached as Exhibit B, which is very similar with blanks to the one that you entered into for the prior project. It authorizes the trustee and the president of the board to execute the documents and to make any minor revisions that they see fit with consultation with bond counsel. Also authorizes the trustee to approve revisions to the plans and specifications, which have been on file for the last week plus for the Murphy Park project. It approves the issuance and sale of the bonds by the building corporation. That's really a formality. It's their bonds, but you also approve their actions in that regard as an elected body that'll be paying the bill. And also authorize the president and trustee to execute and update a continuing disclosure undertaking agreement, which is for the bond purchasers, giving the township's annual financial position, and also gives both the trustee and the president and any other officer necessary all action required to fulfill the intent of the resolution. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any particular question. Oh, one other thing, it does authorize the transfer of your 29-acre property to the building corporation, which is a requirement under Indiana Code 36110, which is the section of the code that we're operating under here. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or details.
I do not have any. Amanda, Steve, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Okay, we just need a motion to approve.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 020921-01, resolution of the Township Board of Washington Township, approving a lease with the Washington Township Building Corporation, assigning plans and specifications, approving issuance of the corporation's bonds, approving continuing disclosure agreement, approving appropriation, approving property transfer and related actions. That might be the longest motion I've ever made.
I failed to state, Mr. Chairman, that it also does approve an appropriation as Amanda just read. So
Okay.
your hearing earlier was really on the appropriation of the proceeds of the bonds.
Okay, thank you.
And I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Shane, you'll need to do a roll call vote.
Oh, okay, that's right. So we'll start off with Amanda Babinek,
Aye.
Steve Blacketer,
Aye.
And I am Shane Summers, and that's an aye.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Trustee. I'm going to sign
Thank
off.
you.
Thank
So
you,
All right,
Brian.
thank you.
you'll have signature documents there. You actually have them there already.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, just, well, go ahead, and when wishes to be heard, I'll cover that with you guys, so go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I got a lot of order on my agenda here. Okay, the next up is Resolution 020921-02, the approval of the 2021 Township Assistance Guidelines.
You're going to
Table
you're going
that.
to table those, yeah. This is, the next resolution is 020921-03. This is for approval of declaration of surplus. The Parks Department has 3 computer towers, which they have attached to this, that they're asking to be declared as surplus. So if you have any questions.
So just to be clear, we took off the previous resolution, the 02 resolution. Did I miss that?
It's been tabled.
That's
Oh,
been
okay.
tabled till
Sorry.
next month. Yep.
Okay, I
Because
missed that.
Bobby's not here.
Okay, any further discussion on the declaration of surplus?
Are they to be sold or scrapped, Don?
What?
Are they to be sold or scrapped?
Yeah, I know. I'm asking Laura what the plans were again.
They actually have to, I forget what it's called, but there's some part of it that has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And then after that, they're basically useless. We could sell for parts, but you're really not going to get very much of from it. So it's pretty much just a scrap scenario.
Okay, I just need a motion to approve.
I move that we adopt resolution 020921-03, resolution of the Township Board of Washington Township, Hendricks County, Indiana, declaring surplus equipment. See, I'm trying to make it as long as Amanda's, but it still doesn't work.
You're jealous of that long motion, aren't you? I will second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the last one. It's approval, resolution 020921-04, approval amending the 2021 Township Salary Resolution.
So basically back when we did the salary resolution late last year, there were 3 things that we didn't, well, 2 things we left off that were new and 1 thing we didn't upgrade. The first thing was the write-out pay on the fire department. With the pay raises that were given to the firefighters, we forgot to also upgrade the fire write-up pay. So that's been corrected down there, which is towards the bottom there of that section. The other thing the other 2 things that we did, if you remember during the budget workshop and during the actual budget, Chief talked to you about 2 part-time positions that we, for the two of the division chiefs. One was the EMS, one was the training, to give each of them a part-time assistant, which would be basically that pay would be paid out of the overtime. But we need, in order to pay those, that for that purpose, we need to identify that. So you see right below, you see fire chief, deputy, division chief, then you see division chief assistants. You see 2 positions with a $26.04 to $46.37 pay range. So that's the other thing that was not on that resolution. And so that's why we're bringing this resolution to you tonight for that amending of the salary resolution. So that's the only 2 changes.
Thanks, Don. Any further questions for Don on this one? Okay, just need a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve resolution number 020921-04, amendment for 2021, establishing salaries of township officers and employees.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, that covers all the resolutions. Any public comments or wishes to be heard?
I'll wait and see if there's any public comment first. Okay, if not, any wishes be heard. As you know, you guys know you have some things you have to sign. Brian is sending me all of that, things, and I want to make sure that I have it all printed out and ready to go. So I'm going to ask Amanda and Steve, if you can, to push your coming in tomorrow afternoon instead of the morning. That'll give me time to make sure that I have everything ready to go. Shane, you're okay for the time period you were talking about on Thursday. But if you two can come in tomorrow afternoon, that'll work a lot better. And I'll make sure that way I have everything. I'm gonna be having the building corporation coming in over the next couple of days on their availability to sign the documents they have to sign so that we have it all done. The key thing is the annual report. I've got to have, I have to post this, which if we don't have to have that signature page, Britt and I can go ahead and upload the Gateway tomorrow and get that done because we're required after night. We got 2 days in order to have it up on Gateway. So anyway, if you two could postpone your coming in until tomorrow afternoon, just let you can text me or whatever and tell me when you're coming in. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We still got quite a few people still on here, and we have a great community, and I think it's because of all the people and all the different groups we have, and I think in working together, and I think that's it shows by the people that come together for these type of things and working and supporting each other. I can tell you that the Avon Collaboration Group is a very strong and functional group and has been able to save the taxpayers of this township a ton of money in duplication of services and duplication of fees. So if nothing else, that's the one thing I'll hang my hat on. That we have, that's working for us real well. So thank you.
Yes, thanks everyone. Our next meeting is March 9th. That will be at the Government Center, provided we are no longer in red, and I'm hoping we're in yellow or blue, or maybe COVID will be gone by March 9th. So that would be fantastic. I would guess it's unlikely, but hey, we can always wish. So with that, I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second.
Okay, we are all in favor of adjournment at 7:42 p.m. Thanks everyone, and thanks everyone for their time tonight.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.